Stop!
I'm eating!
Eat quieter!
Oh, okay.
Please! Hello and welcome to the channel where I review one book at a time by giving you a spoiler-free review first and then a deeper discussion right after. My name is Jennifer and we will be covering Inheritance by Christopher Paolini today. Book review. I am back! I have some personal news that I wanted to share with you guys. If you're only here for the review, that's perfectly fine. Please go ahead and skip to wherever I put the timestamp for when the review starts. But I have some things I want to share. First of which is an apology. My original intention for this channel was to upload reviews or vlogs regularly, preferably on Fridays, but that kind of got derailed. There's some drama behind my absence. I'm thinking about doing a gossip, tea spilling type thing, just sharing an insider report on what happened to me because it was kind of crazy. So maybe I'll do a video on it, maybe I won't. But I am also 6 months pregnant. My husband and I are very excited. I'm due in September. Baby doesn't change anything. I still have every intention of uploading book reviews. It's just that my baby girl might be in some of them in the future. Okay, so that's that for the personal stuff. Let's move on to the review. Inheritance. This book is kind of like The Reckoning. It's the book with all the answers and it is the final book in the series. So Eragon, originally meant to be a trilogy, ended up as an inheritance cycle with 4 books because Christopher Paolini just couldn't fit it all into the third one. It is also the conclusion of the massive campaign against the evil King Galbatorix. So in this we see the elves marching their army down from their forest in the north, and in the south we see the Varden, Serta, the southern army. They also have the Urgal army, or tribes, and the newest addition to the resistance is the Weirkat army, which is introduced in this novel right at the very beginning. So it's basically everyone against King Galbatorix. The biggest issue that we find here is that final step between victory or defeat. And the problem is nobody knows how to actually defeat Galbatorix and Murtagh at this point. So they are on their way. They're literally campaigning. They are taking down cities individually one by one as they approach Galbatorix's capital, but they don't actually know how they're going to accomplish the impossible. So this surrounds Eragon's desperation, confusion, along with his allies as to how they're going to do that. And I mean, the way I'm saying it makes it sound really simple, but they give you pages and pages of just deeper dives into the psyche and basically the tortured inner minds of everybody as they try to figure out what to do. And personally, I think that's one of the strengths of the novel. I really liked and enjoyed this book because it's basically the culmination of Eragon's character. It is about him coming into his own. It's about his self-identity and grappling with his sense of self. There is a part in the book where it becomes necessary for Eragon and Saphira to discover their true names. This book is the maturation of Eragon's character, and it's also the maturation of Christopher Paolini's writing, because when he published this, I think in 2011, he was 27 years old. When he started this series, when he started writing it, he was only 15. So there is a night and day difference between the content and the quality of Eragon versus Inheritance. I think the biggest difference is definitely that this is not a book for kids. Eragon I would give to a 5th grader. Inheritance is very much an adult book. It's not sexually explicit, but it has some really gross grungy parts that made me cringe really badly. Just really visceral scenes. I wouldn't worry too much with this series. It's not horrible, but it would have been nice to know. I have a lot more that I want to say in the spoiler discussion, so I'm gonna go ahead and give my rating for this book. Overall, the writing was really good. I enjoyed the more mature quality of the writing, and also, I mean, I can't say much about the ending till after the spoiler-free review, but I liked how the ending was bittersweet. There's enough there for you to be satisfied enough that this is the end, but there's also plenty left untouched for you to feel that bittersweet sense of longing. So because of that, I will be giving this book a rating of 9 out of 10. That wraps things up for the spoiler-free version of this review. This is your final warning to click away now if you don't want to be spoiled. Pause! Stop! Please! Stop! I have to redo it! So that wraps things up for the spoiler-free portion of this review. If you don't want any spoilers or you haven't read the book yet, this is your last chance to click away now. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. For those of you who are staying for the rest of the discussion, I have a couple of things to say, and my first bone to pick is, again, with the spoilers right on the cover art. They did this with Eldest, and it made me really upset. So the fact that he did it again with the last book was just something else. We find out who this dragon is literally in the last few chapters of the novel. His name is Firnin, and he's Arya's dragon. I thought it was really fitting that she became a rider because she dedicated so much of her life to resurrecting the dragon riders. She was the designated ambassador and egg carrier. That's how she ended up with Saphira's egg for so long. Other than that, I don't have a lot to say about the dragon himself, other than good for him, because basically him and Saphira are the only actual couple that gets to get anywhere with their relationship in the series. I was a little bit disappointed that Arya and Eragon did not end up together. I mean, I completely understand why they didn't. I get it. They're both too important. She's the queen of the elves. He needs to go hatch the rest of the eggs and train the new generation of riders. I don't know. They just had so much chemistry together, and they would have been so good together if they could have. I feel the exact same way about Murtagh and Niswada as well. I felt like they had so much potential as a couple, and it's such a waste that they weren't able to end up together. I feel like they really did a lot for each other. Niswada didn't really have any romantic interests. If anything, she's just like Arya, where she's too powerful and important to have the luxury of exploring any type of romance. And it is, when we are able to read chapters from her point of view, that is discussed. She does admit that it would be nice. It would be nice to find someone and to marry someone. I'm just really glad she didn't end up with King Oren, because she was kind of thinking about it, like, why not? But I really disliked him as a character, even though he was useful as a device for basically being the only sane person in the room. Because up until the point when they killed King Galbatorix, they didn't know how they were going to do that, and Oren was the only person who was actually being human about that. He was the one who was getting drunk, he was the one despairing and feeling the full spectrum of emotions that you would normally feel if you were trying to accomplish the impossible, but you're pretty sure you're just gonna fail and die. On Murtagh's part of the romance, I just thought it was so sweet, because he was able to break his enslavement to Galbatorix because he changed as a person because of her. Like, that was so sweet. I mean, it really sucked that he was the person torturing her, but I guess he made up for it because he would also sneak back into her cell and heal her and keep her company and keep her sane, which was the most important part. It just really sucks. The two couples that I really wanted to end up together could not and did not. Just really sad. I also felt like Queen Islinzadi's death was unwarranted. It felt more like a convenient plot device to make way for Arya's rise to becoming the next queen, but I felt like realistically Islinzadi's old enough and powerful and experienced enough to have been able to defeat, I think his name was General Bart, whoever was the overpowered antagonist on the battlefield where Roran was. I feel like she could have taken him. I don't think she needed to die. I think it was more for dramatic effect and for convenience. Not too happy about her death for multiple reasons. Speaking of Roran, I'm so proud of him. I think he is definitely one of my favorite characters. I really like how he becomes so strong and so dependable. Just like Eragon, he creates a myth and legend around himself as a warrior, but he does it as a plain human with no superhuman powers, no superhuman strength, and it's just by the merit of his own willpower and determination. So I really liked where his character went, but I also like how he served as a foil to his cousin Eragon, because there's at some point in the novel, I think it's in the first half, where Roran says something along the lines of, even if this is a battle among gods, I will continue to fight Galbatorix, whether the rest of you guys are coming with me or not. After that private meeting of the leaders of the armies who were fighting against Galbatorix adjourned, Eragon approached his cousin and said, "Hey, did you really mean that? Do you really think this is a fight between gods?" And Roran, as much as he loves and respects Eragon, he says yes, and it's not fair. It's not fair that people with magic can squash ordinary people like himself, and that they're basically at the mercy of people like Eragon and Galbatorix. I really like what Roran had to say about the unfairness of power and how magic users have such an unfair advantage over regular people, because it really fed into the doctrine that Galbatorix was trying to sell, where he would be the savior of everyone. He would create a peaceful world if he were the supreme ruler, because then he could control everyone and force everyone to be fair. The most familiar we get with Galbatorix is right before he dies, when we're in the throne room scene, and Eragon, Arya, Elva, and Saphira are finally confronting him. That's the most we ever get out of a fleshing out or characterization of Galbatorix, which is a shame, and this is similar to my criticism in Brisingr. I felt like Christopher Paolini could have spent more time fleshing out Murtagh's character, especially as an antagonist. He could have done the same with Galbatorix. It would have been nice to have seen more of him. But then again, part of what made him so terrifying was the unknown. The characters thinking that he was invulnerable and invincible. So I guess there's arguments for or against that. But what I'm trying to say is, when you're in the throne room with the Galbatorix, it becomes very, very clear that he doesn't see himself as the bad guy. And I do think that it's important for antagonists to not just be like someone who's downright evil, like a comical bad guy. Galbatorix truly believed that he was doing the right thing. He thought that he was bringing peace to Alagasia, and by having the supreme power to control everyone, he can create the perfect world. I also want to say I really enjoy the irony of how Eragon took down King Galbatorix. It was really nice that he didn't do it all by himself. He absolutely needed everybody's help in order to get it done. It was kind of like a variation of the saying, killing someone with kindness. Eragon literally killed him through empathy. So at this point, Galbatorix is controlling them all because he has the name of the ancient language. By some supreme irony, Eragon was able to turn that against him. He found a loophole in whatever Galbatorix was doing to prevent them from casting magic. It was worded in a way where Eragon cast a spell that wasn't really a spell. It was more like he was trying to convey a feeling through the ancient language, which I thought was really interesting. But rather than doing things the traditional way or the straightforward way by saying kill him or any other variation of being able to end someone's life in the ancient language, Eragon killed him by inundating his mind basically with the enormity of how unfair, unjust, cruel, and basically crazy Galbatorix's plan was. In the book, it wasn't just Eragon by himself. There was no way he was able to create and cast a spell like that by himself. So he basically started it. It was his idea. But the dragons who were helping him expanded on the spell and basically turned it into the greatest piece of magic that was ever cast, and that's how Eragon worded it. While Eragon and Galbatorix are having a simple sword fight, in Galbatorix's head you can only imagine like the countless lives and emotions that he's basically being forced to experience, and it's incapacitating him to the point where Eragon was able to do the finishing blow. So I think that was a really fitting ending. I definitely wouldn't have thought of that. I mean, I think for like 95% of the book, everybody's saying, how are we going to do this? And it was only in that final moment at the very end of the book when Eragon figured it out. I don't think he even knew that it would work. I think his logic was, well, if this is the end and I cannot overcome Galbatorix and I'm gonna become his mind slave, then at the very least I need him to understand why this is so wrong. And that was it. That was enough. Real quick, just because I said I would, the two disgusting parts that really made me cringe and almost want to throw up, in case for whatever reason you couldn't tell what I was talking about, it was definitely when Eragon and Arya were trapped under the catacombs of Dres Leona. It was when they were, I think they were manacled with their arms over their heads, and there's no way for them to use magic, and they're in a very dire situation. And Arya basically de-gloves the skin off of her hand in order to escape and save them. That was just really disgusting, very graphic. And the other one was Neswata when she was being tortured by King Galbatorix, and I don't remember what they're called. I think it was worm grubs or something like that. She had parasites, like worm-like parasites, digging into her body while she's awake, while she's alive. Ugh, it's so disgusting. I did not enjoy that. But yeah, that was it. I just wanted to touch on those real quick because I said I would. I have gone on long enough. Thank you so much for watching. If you like the way I break down books, please consider liking and subscribing, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!